20th century American philosopher Dannett said, "There is no reality of consciousness independent of the effects of various vehicles of content on subsequent action, and hence, of course, on memory," meaning there can be no independent, authentic, sovereign, distinct, and real consciousness at all, and that means consciousness just cannot have, or it just cannot include, because it does not involve any elements of independence, authenticity, sovereignty, realism, and honesty and integrity about itself, because our consciousness actually has always been affected, influenced, motivated by something or another in one way or another, even though we're not always willing to recognize it, understand it, or admit to it, because we're always led and driven by the idea, as well as governed by the fact that we have independence, freedom, liberty, alongside equality, justice, and obviously human rights in our lives. And we also always believe and are convinced that our consciousness has independence, sovereignty, and authenticity about itself that directs all of our thoughts, perceptions, thinking, and our actions, encounters, and interactions with others around us in society, when in reality we miss the fact, as well as the unavoidable reality and condition, that consciousness has always been based upon conditions, circumstances, and unavoidable encounters that just cannot be reversed. So consciousness is affected, diluted, and obviously it is influenced not only by our own bias, hypocrisy, partiality, or other prejudicial thinking, behaviors, and actions, but it's also always motivated by the other people's ignorance, bad behaviors, rejections, betrayals, and the list just goes on. And that means, as I mentioned earlier, consciousness and independence just cannot be inherently connected with one another. They have no inherent or special unbreakable connection or bond about themselves, and that means they are not inseparable, because they have always been separable, distinct, and different from the one another, because they have always been, as I mentioned earlier, affected by something or another. Independence is affected, consciousness is influenced, and again reality is manipulated, and it's not what we initially had thought it to be. So consciousness does not have any independence, freedom, authenticity, sovereignty about itself, because we do not have, or we just could not control and overcome our ignorance